Let me tell you something no landlord brochure will ever say out loud. If you rent an apartment in an old city building for cheap, it's not because the pipes are rusty. It's because the building has a memory, and you read just the newest thing it wants to forget. I learned this 3 years ago, the hard way. I was 24, broke, and fresh out of a bad breakup. So, when I found a studio on the fourth floor of an ancient high-rise for less than half my budget, I signed the lease in 5 minutes flat. Apartment for C. Small, but the view faced the river, and I felt proud. My own space. Finally. First week, completely normal. Loud neighbors, creaky floors, hallway lights that flickered like cheap horror effects. But hey, that's old buildings for you. The weirdness began on a rainy Tuesday night. I got home late after a double shift at the diner. I trudged up the dim hallway, half asleep, and noticed something odd. The door next to mine, for D, was open just a crack. Thing is, there was number for D when I moved in. The floor plan had only for apartments, B, C, and a janitor closet at the end. I remember, because I laughed at the missing D when I first checked the mailboxes. But that night, there it was, apartment for D. Brass numbers polished and new. I chalked it up to exhaustion. Maybe the management had converted the closet. I should have minded my own damn business. Instead, I knocked gently on the open door, half expecting a maintenance guy inside. No answer. So, brilliant me, I pushed it open. Inside, pitch black, smelled damp, like a basement after a flood. I leaned in, squinting. Couldn't see much, just outlines of furniture, a chair, maybe a table. On the floor, something glimmered like water. Then I heard it, a soft whisper, like breath brushing my ear from inside the room. I backed out fast, slammed the door, locked myself in my studio, and cursed my curiosity. I didn't sleep well that night. Kept thinking I heard footsteps pacing outside my door, slow, dragging, like bare feet on old linoleum. Once, I swore I saw a shadow move past the gap under my door. By morning, I told myself it was a vivid nightmare. I went out into the hall, for D was gone, just a blank wall, no door, no number, as if I'd imagined it. I asked my neighbor across the hall, an elderly lady named Mrs. Kessler. She peered at me like I was drunk. There's never been a 4D here, sweetheart. You must be dreaming. I wanted to believe her. I really did. But that night, as I lay staring at my ceiling, I heard it again, a soft tap, then another, right behind my headboard, on the wall we'd call the shared wall, if there had been a room on the other side. 3 knocks, silence, 3 more. I pressed my ear against the wall. I could swear I heard breathing. And just before I pulled back, a voice so faint I felt it more than heard it. Come back. Open it again. You'd think I'd have run for the hills after that first night. But the truth is, when you're broke, scared, and stubborn, you tell yourself ghosts are less frightening than debt collectors. So I stayed in for C. I ignored the tapping for as long as I could. A week passed, then 2. Each night the pattern grew bolder. 3 knocks behind my bed, sometimes on the door itself. Once, when I stumbled home drunk, I found a single wet handprint smack in the middle of my door. It was small to be mine, and so faint that by morning it was gone. Mrs. Kessler would watch me come and go with those watery eyes of hers, like she pitied me but didn't dare say why. Once, in the elevator, she whispered, "Don't answer if it calls again. Not all doors close once opened." I laughed her off. I had to. But the 3rd week broke my stupid confidence. It was raining. Again. I remember this because water dripped from my hair onto the envelope in my mailbox. A plain white note. No stamp. No sender. Inside was a single line in looping black ink. Check the number tonight. I wish I'd burned it. Instead, like a fool, I waited till midnight, drunk on cheap whiskey and even cheaper bravery, then stumbled into the hallway. There it was, where my door should have read for C. The brass number shone back for D, my studio door. I checked twice, running my fingers over the metal. Cold, real. When I turned, the hall seemed impossibly long, the flickering bulb stretching shadows like wet ink. I told myself, it's a prank, someone swapped the plates. I even laughed, a brittle, desperate noise. Then I heard it, that whisper, from the other side of my own door. You opened it once. Now come back. Heart hammering. I unlocked it. The knob felt slick, like someone had breath moisture all over it. Inside wasn't my studio. The layout was the same window, same crooked kitchen counter, but everything was wrong. Water pooled on the floor in perfect circles. Black mold crept like veins up the walls. My bed was gone, replaced by an old iron chair facing the corner. And in the corner, something moved, hunched, rocking back and forth, draped in a filthy bedsheet. I couldn't see its face. I didn't want to, but it spoke, not with words, but with that low sigh that rattled my bones. You live here now. Just like me. I stumbled backward, slammed the door so hard my hand bled against the latch. In the hallway, Mrs. Kessler stood barefoot, wringing her hands. Between dry sobs she muttered, "Foolish boy, you fed it. Now it wears your number." I spent that night barricaded behind the couch, knife in hand. At dawn, I dared peek outside. My door read for C again. Dry, clean, my room was normal. My bed, my clothes, the cheap coffee mug in the sink, no chair, no mold. But I knew then, the room wasn't gone, it was waiting. And each time I denied it, it grew hungrier. I packed my bags that afternoon, but the building had other plans. The elevator refused to go down. The stairs ended on locked fire doors, chained from the other side. Every hallway curved back to the same place, my door, for D. I don't know how long I sat there, staring at my door, at that brass number that shouldn't exist, for D. Maybe an hour. Maybe the whole night. Time felt thick, syrupy, like the walls themselves wanted me to stay confused. My phone was dead. Mrs. Kessler's door stayed shut, no matter how hard I knocked. No footsteps, no voices in the hall, only mine, echoing back at me. I tried the fire escape again. It ended in rusted bars welded across the window, like they'd always been there. Sometime near dawn, I heard it again. Not the soft knocking behind the headboard this time, but clear, deliberate tapping right on my front door. 3 knocks, a pause, then 3 more. I didn't move, I knew better, but my eyes drifted to the peephole. At first, I saw nothing, just the dingy hallway light. Then, closer than should be possible, a face filled the lens. A gray, smiling face, as featureless as wet clay, but shaped horribly like mine. It opened its mouth, though I couldn't hear it through the door. Then I realized, it wasn't silent, it was mouthing the knocks. 3 knocks, pause, 3 more. And I understood, it wasn't asking in, it was asking me out. I wish I could tell you I stood my ground, but fear is cheap bravery's end. I yanked the door open. The hallway was empty. No face, no echo, but my number plate lay on the floor at my feet. For C, the screws bent like snapped bones. On my door, freshly bolted above my eye level, was a polished new plate. For D, the corridor light flickered, then steadied. In the flicker, I saw the other door at the far end, the one that should be the janitor's closet. It was open, inside, darkness, inside, the same iron chair. Inside, the same shape, draped in its rotted sheet, gently rocking. And in my throat, a whisper not my own. Sit, stay, watch for the next one. I don't remember crossing the hall. I don't remember stepping inside. I only remember waking up strapped to that chair, staring at the same wall, feeling the mildew crawl into my lungs. I tried to scream, but my voice was gone, locked behind my teeth. I watched my old door, now across from me, swing open. A man I didn't know stepped out, mail in hand, a fresh tenant smile on his face. I tried to warn him, But my mouth moved like wet cloth, no sound, and somewhere inside me, a voice coiled around my bones. You had your chance to leave. Now you are the door. I don't know how long I've been here. I see new tenants sometimes. They look at me through the cracked door, think they see a shadow or a dream. Some run, most don't. Eventually, they all open it, just like I did. So, if you ever rent an old place for cheap, if you see a door that shouldn't be there, if the number flickers under the hallway light, don't open it, because once you do, you'll never close it behind you again. This was Shadow Below. Stay curious, but stay out. Good night.